What's up, guys? It's Billy with another deck profile, this is the second one I've done. And this time it's on Oni Assassins. Sorry I haven't done a deck profile more recently, but the new set was coming out soon, and I wanted to wait till that came out before I, gave a deck profile of a deck, and then just, a week later immediately changes. And sorry it took a while. It takes me a week or two to between life and playing the game to figure out what I want to play in decks and everything. So it happens. So, buddy, for my Oni Assassin deck is Red Lady Oni Kureha. She's a 5/2/1, and her call cost is pay 1 gauge. And when she enters the field, put a card with ambush that is not her from your drop zone into your hand. Then, if it enters the field by ambush, you can put a card from your hand into her soul face down, or well, actually into an Oni Assassin face down on the field. Doesn't have to be her. And she has ambush and move, so she's a good setup for a lot of cards. And she's just a really pretty card, and there's really, I mean, obviously you can run Io as buddy. You don't have to run her. It's not like she's like, the most optimal option, but she's not like, stopping you from being able to easily buddy call at any time either. So, I just enjoy her, and obviously have the Sakate flag for just, themes. And so the first card I guess I will do is obviously 4 of her, as she is buddy, and she just helps you set up other ambushes for more effects. And there's really not much more to explain there. Um, so I'll go through monsters first. So the first monster is I have is 1 half fiend Kid Yase. It's a 2/1/1. And when it enters the field by ambush, you choose an item on your opponent's field, and you may pay 1 gauge. If you do, destroy the chosen card, and it has ambush, obviously. Just really good. I like it as a one of, just because it's not like it bogs down the deck by having tons of them. And I mean, people do have items, and I know a lot of items are indestructible. So it's like if you come across a deck like that, then just don't play it. It's just 1 card. It's not going to really bog down your strategy. But he is nice to try to destroy items. You can always grab them with the impact. And then the next size 0 is 3 of the dual world card Demon Assassin Ogre. It's a 2/1/1 size 0, and it's an act. Choose a monster on my field and reveal this from my hand. If I do, I put it face down into the soul. And then at the end of the battle that attacks, if you have an item equipped, return it back to your hand. So it's kind of like a Dark Hero in that regards. Obviously, it's a Dark Hero attribute too, but Dark Hero in that regards because it bounces when you have an item, and it has ambush. So it's a really easy free setup for if you have Hiding Oni in your hand. You can just throw this into the soul of a monster and just call it right back out. So it's just free and easy setup. Also, one thing I do love to enjoy, which I'll obviously show later, is the new weapon, the Hidden Dark Arms Yobi Katana. I love to have this on the side. You swing with the sword first, you throw something into its soul, and you could potentially, when you swing and it bounces back, you could call whatever's underneath the soul, so it can help extend a fight. And plus, also, you can always throw a Z-Ogre inside of a Z-Ogre to, swing, and when it bounces back, as long as you have the item, obviously, it will call the other Z-Ogre, so you get an extra swing. So, just, nice little combo to, lengthen your battle phase to try to finish a game if possible. Second is 3 of Lesser Fiend Amano Jaku. It's a 2/1/1 size 0. If it enters the field by ambush, draw a card, and it has ambush. Pretty straightforward card. I like it just to, like Hiding Oni, just draw an extra card, get a little bit more setup. Plus, there's a respectable amount of size 3s in the deck now. There's 8 now. So having some variety of size 0s helps have a more full board. So on to the size 1s. Obviously, this could also be a completely viable buddy, but you do have Fiend of Gaze Io, and when it enters the field, choose an Oni Assassin on your field, which could include him. Look at 3 cards from the top of your deck and put 1 face down into its soul, and then put the rest at the bottom. So it's a good fishing without burning through your deck, because the cards just go back to the bottom of your deck. And it has ambush, so it can activate off of itself. And it's a 1/2/1, and it's just a great setup card. Very free. You just get 1 easy card from your deck to set up, and even if it's not something that works with ambush or an ambush-like effect with the spells, it at least gets you going, to draw or do underhanded means or anything. So the next monster is 2 Fiend of Ailments Affliction Oni. It's a 3/1/1 size one, and its call cost is pay 1 gauge. And when it enters the field, you put one Oni Assassin item from your deck into your hand and shuffle your deck. Then if it enters by ambush, you can equip an item from your hand by paying its equip cost. So you don't have to, if you have a different item in your hand, you can call that one instead. If you want to try to, again, extend the battle phase. I only run 2 because once you have the item, these are basically dead, so you don't want to see them a whole lot, and the point is to get the item, not these guys. So these are just kind of, like Z-Ogre relies on the item, so it's like I run 2 just in case. But you could probably run 1, honestly, but I feel like if you run 3, you just see it too much, and obviously once you see 1, then you're done, so kind of pointless to have too many. The next one is Dusk Fiend Yagyo. He's a 5/1/1. When he enters the field, choose a monster on your opponent's field and put a soul from the chosen card into his or her drop zone. Then if he enters by ambush, you put another soul from that card into the drop zone, and as ambush, obviously. So I like it because there are some pain in the ass wall decks, like Prisms and some dual Jaeger decks, and if they're going more defensive than offensive. And so if you have just a high soul monster or even Shadow Shades, this just helps rip through the souls really easily. Plus, you can always call Kreha over him. So if you call him, remove a soul, call Kreha over him, grab him back with Kreha, and then just call him again to remove another soul if need be. But, it happens once in a while, but I like him as just a one-of. He's just nice as like a one-of. Onto the size 2s. I have 4 Fiend of 100 Flogs Rashomon, and he's a 6/2/1. His call cost is look at the 3 cards from the top of your deck and put 1 from among them face down, and then put the rest into the drop, and then you pay 1 gauge. And he has move and soul guard. He's a great setup, and yeah, he's pretty much there just to set up. He's always been a pretty good card, and you can always, if you mill another ambush monster, you can always, if you have Kreha, you can always grab it. Helps just set up your drop zone a little bit. The next one onto the size 3s is, if I can get it to, there we go, Shuten Demonic Deity Kitabuki. He's a 10/3/5, size 3. His call cost is pay 2 gauge. At the beginning of your turn, destroy all monsters on your opponent's field and deal damage to your opponent equal to the number of cards destroyed. And then he has Overkill, which is only once per game. Pay 1 gauge when the monster on your field would be destroyed. So it doesn't have to be him, but, a lot of times it is him. Choose a monster on your field. Again, doesn't have to be him. And for this turn, that card cannot be destroyed. He's a great just, staller. And then obviously at the beginning of your turn, then you just kaboom, blow everything up. And he has ambush and move. So one thing I do like to do, and I try to do, and not that it happens all the time, but I try to call him as like the last attack of the opponent. So then at the beginning of my turn, I can, destroy all their board, deal some damage, and then I still have Overkill for during my opponent's turn. So then I try to set them up with some soul. Swing, for my turn, then it's their turn, do Overkill, and then, they have to deal with another turn of me just board wiping them again. So, he's very nice. I like the SP art more than the Buddy Rare. Sorry, sue me. I know some of my friends like the Buddy Rare more, but I like SP art, so deal with it. Next one is 3 of the original Oni boss, Kitabuki. He's an 8/2/5 and his call cost is pay 2 gauge. When he enters the field, destroy a monster on your opponent's field. Then, if he enters the field by ambush, deal damage to your opponent equal to the size of the destroyed monster. And he has ambush and double attack. So he's the original. I like him because he helps push game. If they have an open center field, I can swing with like some weenies at their center, and if they have like bots or size 2, just ignore bot swing and then counter call him, destroy bots, deal 2 more, and then you still have double attack to try to finish him off, which is a good, rush setup. So he's a little more offensive. The Shuten Demonic Deity is a little more defensive, but they can still do pretty well. Then the last monster is 2. I know this card's been very controversial, but 2 Ibuki's Right Hand Man Kid Ibaraki. He's a 7/3/1. You may only call it if you have an Oni Assassin item equipped. Again, this is why I run 2 of the item searcher and then 4 of the item to try to get the item, along with obviously Z-Ogre requires an item to be at his optimal state too. And his call cost is put the top 5 cards of your deck face down into this card's soul and pay 2 gauge, and he has move. So he's a good, my friends and I like to call him a pinata, but he's good as just like you get 5 cards, so it's like you can hide Oni off of him. You can just you can throw away cards that may be garbage that you want to activate off when it's your opponent's turn. he just digs for 5 cards that, half of the deck has ambush or some kind of ambush-like effect. So usually, you can get at least a couple into a soul. I did have one game in playtesting that I did get all 5 that had ambush or ambush-like abilities, and so that was kind of funny. But I think he's pretty good as like a 2-of. You don't want to rely on him, but he's just a nice setup card. So the next one is the items, which is obviously 4 of the Hidden Dark Arms Yobi Katana. That's a 6/1, pay 1 gauge. When this card attacks, destroy your opponent's. When this card attacks and destroys your opponent's monster or deals damage to your opponent, choose an Oni Assassin on your field, which could include him because it doesn't say Oni Assassin monster, just Oni Assassin. Look at the top 4 cards of your deck and put up to 1 of them among them face down into the soul, and put the rest of the bottom of your deck. So this is where I was talking. So the pain in the butt part about this card is it's not the threat of the 1 crit or destroying the monster that people are scared of. Is people hate that setup of the ambush. So you can bait nulls and shields with this card, and it's a pain in the butt for people. I also like to use it with the Ogre again to set up his soul and try to extend a battle phase a little bit by maybe calling another monster after him. But again, that's a little random. I still like the Yobi, or not the Yobi Katana, the Dark Soaring Arms Blade, the 3/2 I still like that, generally speaking, more than this one, but the meta is so anti-effect destruction that it's kind of pointless at this point, and this helps just, it's a free IO every turn when you look at the top 4, so it's just a really good card right now. So the next one are the spells for the deck, and you still run 4 House of Assassins Oni Convoy. It's a set, so it remains on the field once you activate it. Put a card from your hand face down into the soul of an Oni Assassin. If you do, draw a card, and you can only activate this once per turn. You can only have 1 of these on the field at any given time. So again, it's just a good cycle of setting up with cards in your hand with ambush, hopefully drawing the cards that don't require ambush, and just keep the draw train rolling. This card is just super important to just keep going with Onis. It actually kind of hurts when it gets destroyed, but not too many decks have like spell destruction cards, so it's not that terrible. But good card is good. Next is one of my favorite, Underhanded Means Sneak Attack. It's a cast cost of put a Soul of an Oni Assassin on your field into the drop, and you counter and just destroy a card on your opponent's field. This is a great card, and it's amazing because you can always counter destroy something when your opponent casts a card, and in which case they don't have any way to save it. So for an example, like one deck that this deck struggles against is Frozen Stars. You can, when your opponent sets the set spell, you can just, if they go to call another monster or play another spell, you can counter and cast this to destroy Frozen Stars, and they can't cast like Tetravibrium in response because their counter timing has run out. So, you get the guaranteed like destruction of the set spell. Just super nice. It's kind of, if you play in the right way, it just, it's a spell that just can't be nullified. So, really good card. Just run 4. It's the whole point of the deck is have face down Souls and Oni, so there's not like you're gonna run out of options there. Next is I feel like it's a little bit of a controversial card, but I'm really digging it for some aggressive decks and decks with penetrate. Is Watchful Eyes. I run 3 in the deck. Its effect: if you play it from hand, put the top card of your deck into your gauge and gain 2 life. And when it's face down into the Soul of an Oni Assassin and sent to the drop, you gain 3 life. So it's a reverse Under the Table. Under the Table, when you play, you gain 2 gauge and a life, and then when it comes out out of an Oni Assassin, you gain 3 gauge. So it's a reverse Under the Table. It's nice to deal with if a monster has like 3 crit penetrate during a battle phase. You can just get rid of this and just regain that 3 life. So it's kind of like as if it didn't do anything. But again, just gaining life with Onis is just nice because then it sort of keeps you out of the range of impacts. Other than the 20 damage impact, obviously, but that's kind of an exception. So the next spell is 4 Midnight Bodyguards. You can only cast it during an opponent's turn if you have an Oni Assassin on the field. Again, item includes. Counter, nullify, then you may put a Soul of a card on your field into the drop. If you do, put the top card of your deck into your gauge and you gain a life. Good, a little bit of a gauge gain if you need it for like that 1 extra soul in your monster that you need to activate. It's good to just stop penetrate. So, good card is good. Next is Under the Tables. It is, like I've already said, with Watchful Eyes, but put the top 2 cards of your deck into your gauge and you gain a life. And when this face down card is put into the soul of an Oni assassin on your field, into the drop zone, put the top 3 cards of your deck into your gauge. So it's like a clear Serenity for Onis. Still good if you just play it from your hand. If you still want to play the impact, at least you got the 2 gauge for it. Gives you a little bit of life gain for sustain. And just overall a necessary card because Onis can burn through gauge like a bastard. So next card is for Hiding Onis, which shouldn't be a surprise. Cast cost is put a soul of a card on the field into the drop, and you gain 1 gauge and draw 2 cards, and you can only cast it once per turn. This card is super solid. It's used in actually a lot of Katana World decks. I've seen it used in Water, in Blade Beasts, because with Oni Maru souls, because it just says put a soul of a card on the field, so it's not specifically Oni assassins. And it's just a good gauge and draw to it, because obviously Onis need gauge, so just staple draw spell for them. And then last is 3 Dark Skill Eerie Wailings. It's an impact, and obviously the only impact, and its cast cost is pay 2 gauge. Choose and use one of the following 2. Choose an Oni assassin on your field and put up to 2 cards from your deck face down into the soul of a chosen card and shuffle your deck. So that's only activatable during the final phase because it doesn't have counter. So that's a good setup. Usually I just put an Under the Table underneath and then throw an Oni assassin that's relevant to the current situation. Obviously it requires a little bit of prediction, but usually it's not too hard to predict a useful card that Onis have to deal with. And sometimes even against like Hero World, I'll throw Kid Yase into the soul just to destroy their item on their turn. So just super solid. And then counter, put all souls. So the counter means it can actually be used whenever, even during main phase or battle phase, which is when it probably is kind of meant to be designed to go. Put all souls from all cards on the field into the drop zone. So includes your opponent, includes you. And it's honestly meant to be kind of like a more offensive push where you can recall another field and then just try to swing for game. Usually 9 times out of 10, I use it more for defensive setting up and everything. But, if you are stacked with Yobi Gatana or Kitty Baraki is perfectly set up and everything, you can just release all the souls and have at it. So, good card. I run 3. I know some people can run 4, and that's totally fine. I run 3 just because I have a fear of I'm just going to see so many of these damn things, and I'm just not going to have the monster to throw it under or some kind of reasoning. So, I feel 3 is fine. So, there's enough other cards that, get you souls that you don't need to be super duper reliant on this impact. It is good though. So yeah, that's pretty much the deck profile. I'll try to get around to all the different Katana World decks. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Should be out within the next probably a week or a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. I got work and everything, so I don't have all the free time in the world to do this. So yeah, if you have any questions, just hit me up. But yeah, pretty straightforward. So thank you.